The Galactic Empire's arrogance, the Galactic Dominion, had ruled the stars. For over 1,000 years their empire stretched across countless systems, crushing any species that dared to challenge them. No one had ever resisted their power for long. When they discovered Earth, they did not see a threat, they saw another weak primitive world waiting to be conquered. High Lord Siren stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Doombringer. He gazed at the holographic display of Earth, his expression filled with amusement. Reports from Dominion scouts claimed that humans had warships, but they were nothing compared to the Dominion's Grand Armada. Their technology was outdated, their fleets were small, and they lacked the sheer firepower needed to challenge the Dominion's rule. Firon turned to his second-in-command, Commander Valratel. "Me, what do you see?" Siren asked, gesturing toward the image of Earth. Valra smirked. "A defenseless planet, my lord. Their ships are few, their weapons weak. Taking this world will be effortless." Siren nodded. "Indeed, this will be a lesson to the rest of the galaxy. Resisting the Dominion is useless." The command deck erupted in laughter. The officers of the Dominion were veterans of countless battles they had seen. Species beg for mercy, surrendering without a fight. Surely the humans would do the same. As the fleet moved closer to the solar system, Dominion scouts scanned Earth's defenses. They detected orbital stations, a few scattered warships, and missile defense systems, but there was no sign of a true planetary defense force. It was pathetic. A message was sent to Earth. It was simple: surrender now or be destroyed. For hours there was no response. The sill only made Tyron more amused. "They must be terrified," he said, "watching the planet spin below. They know they are doomed." Then a response finally came. It was a video transmission. The image flickered to life on the main screen. A human stood before them, dressed in a dark uniform. He was calm, his eyes steady. He introduced himself as Admiral Cole, the leader of Earth's defense fleet. "This Earth," Admiral Cole said, his voice firm. "We do not surrender." Laughter filled the Dominion's command deck. Once again Zahn shook his head, his amusement growing foolish. "They have no idea what's coming." He turned to his officers. "Begin the invasion. Let's end this quickly." The massive Dominion fleet moved forward, their warships casting dark shadows over Earth. The invasion had begun, but deep in the darkness of space, hidden from the Dominion sensors, something stirred. Something massive, something waiting. The trap is set. The Dominion fleet moved forward with unwavering confidence, their warships blotting out the stars as they approached Earth. Thousands of ships, sleek black and bristling with weapons, formed an unbreakable wall of destruction. High Lord Zahn stood at the command deck of the Doombringer, watching as his forces positioned themselves for the attack. "Deploy the forward assault units." Sion ordered. "Leighton, give these humans a taste of real power, Commander." Valks bowed slightly before issuing the command. Within moments, smaller Dominion destroyers surged ahead, breaking formation to engage Earth's defenses. Their weapons locked onto human ships, preparing to fire. And then something strange happened. Earth's fleet didn't move. The human warship simply floated in space, silent and still. No evasive maneuvers, no panic, no desperate charges. Thyron narrowed his eyes. "What are they doing?" Vrax frowned, tapping his claws against the console. "Their ships are active, but they are not responding to our approach. Perhaps they are frozen in fear." Tyon smirked. "Typical. They know resistance is hopeless." He raised his hand. Fire! A wall of plasma bolts, missile barrages, and high-energy beams shot toward Earth's defenses. The first wave of destruction raced toward the human warships at impossible speeds. The Dominion officers leaned forward, expecting immediate devastation. But the moment the energy bolts reached the fleet, they vanished. Gasps filled the command deck. "What?" Valrex snarled. "Impossible." The Dian Eye's advanced targeting systems flickered with errors. The sensors, so precise they could track a grain of dust moving at light speed, suddenly failed to read anything at all. It was as if the human ships weren't even there. Siron's expression darkened. "Something is wrong." Then a second anomaly struck. The Earth warships, previously still and motionless, began to move, not erratically, not chaotically, but with a perfect calculated synchronization. that no fleet should be capable of their formation shifted gliding effortlessly through the Dominion's ranks. "This isn't normal," Valora hissed. "How are they doing?" This before Zion could respond. Something massive emerged from the shadows of space. At first, the Dominion sensors barely registered it, but as it moved, the sheer scale of the object became undeniable. It was enormous, larger than any warship the Dominion had ever faced. Its hull was black as night, absorbing all light, making it blend with the void. Unlike the bulky angular Dominion ships, this vessel was sleek, streamlined, predatory. Then a single piercing light ignited at its front, a burning crimson glow. For the first time in his long, merciless career, Siren felt something alien to him. Fear. Val's voice cracked. "My lord, what is that?" Dairon clenched his fists. A dream the human fleet, once thought weak and defenseless, had lured them in, and now Earth's true weapon had arrived. The Drain roared to life, and the battlefield was about to change forever. The Dread awakens. The battlefield fell into an eerie silence. The Dominion fleet, once so sure of its victory, now hesitated. The human dreadnought loomed in the void, its dark hull swallowing the faint light of distant stars. It was massive, larger than the Dominion's Doombringer, and yet until now it had remained completely hidden. "High Lord." Zyron's claws dug into the metal of his command chair. How he whispered. His fleet had scanned this system 100 times. There had been no sign of such a ship, and yet here it was, undeniable, unstoppable. Val's voice was hoarse. "Impossible. That ship, it wasn't here." Before Zyron's mind raced. Cloaking technology. No, the Dominion had the most advanced sensor systems in the galaxy. No known cloaking device could hide something that big. But then how had the humans concealed it? A deep mechanical hum rumbled through the darkness. The Dren was waking up. Then a voice rang through the Dominion's communication channels. "You shouldn't have come here." It was calm, cold, human. Zyron's eyes widened. "They're transmitting on all frequencies." He realized they weren't just speaking to him, they were speaking to everyone. The Dominion officers exchanged nervous glances. A low murmur of unease spread across the command deck. Then the dreadnought moved, not sluggishly like the Dominion's massive warships, which required minutes to adjust their course. This thing glided silent, smooth, and unnaturally fast for something so massive. "Target." The dreadnought Sean barked. "Fire everything." The Doombringer and its surrounding fleet obeyed instantly. Plasma bolts, rail gun slugs, and high-energy disruptors screamed through space toward the human vessel. The Dominion's firepower was enough to reduce a planet's surface to molten rock, and yet nothing hit. Every single shot missed. Valra gasped. "How we locked onto them. We had them." Zyron's breath came short. He had fought 100 wars, destroyed entire species, and broken civilizations under his rule. Never, not once, had he seen something like this. Then the Dread returned fire. One shot, one. A single burning lance of energy erupted from the bow of the ship. The beam sliced through the void, brighter than a newborn star. It tore through the Dominion's lead battleship like paper, piercing straight through 6 more ships behind it. Zyron and his officers watched in horror as their most powerful warship ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were reduced to burning wreckage. In an instant, the dreadnought had just begun, and the Dominion was already losing. The hunter becomes the prey. The Dominion fleet, once an unshakable wall of destruction, was in chaos. High Elxion watched in stunned disbelief as his most powerful warships, the pride of his empire, were reduced to burning debris. In near seconds, the human dreadnought did not rush. It did not charge like a beast seeking prey. It stalked. Thyron clenched his jaw. How are they doing this? The Doombringer tactical screens were filled with alarms, warnings flooded in, targeting systems failing, communications disrupted, engines struggling to respond. It was as if the very presence of this thing was breaking the fundamental rules of warfare. Rax's voice was barely a whisper. "It's hunting us." Before Khan could respond, the dreadnought moved again, not with the sluggish bulk of a super-heavy warship, but with impossible grace. It phased through the battlefield like a phantom, weaving through wreckage and dominion. Fire with perfect precision surrounded. Siren roarboxed in it cannot escape if we cut off all vectors the dominion. Fleet obeyed warships moved rapidly forming a sphere around the dreadnought. No matter how advanced the human ship was it couldn't fight in every direction. At once or so Scion thought the dreadnought stopped moving. It hovered in the center of the encirclement, as if mocking them. Then for the first time its outer hull shifted, panels slid open revealing rows upon rows of weaponry that had been hidden beneath its smooth black exterior. Turrets, missile pods, plasma lances, things the Dominion had never seen before. And then the ship spoke. "You shouldn't have surrounded us." A heartbeat of silence. Then hell unleashed. The dreadnought fired in all directions at once. Dominion warships, some the size of cities, were ripped apart in an instant. Beams of white-hot energy lanced through holes, detonating reactors, shattering armor. Like brittle glass, ships that had taken decades to build destroyed in near seconds. Screams filled the Dominions. "Comms, my lord, we are being annihilated." Zin gritted his teeth. He had to act. Pull back, regroup, and boom. The Doombringer shuddered as an explosion ripped through its lower deck. Siren staggered, gripping the arm of his chair, as sparks rained down from the ceiling. "What just hit us?" he demanded. A technician's voice was shaking. "I don't know. We didn't detect anything. It just appeared." Siren's blood ran cold. The dread wasn't just destroying them. It was playing with them. This wasn't a war, it was a massacre, and for the first time in his ruthless career, High Lord Xian understood they were not the hunters, they were the hunted humanities. Unseen weapon, the Doombringer burned. Sparks and smoke filled the bridge as alarms screamed across the Dominion. Warship. High Lord Xian gripped his command chair, his claws digging into the metal. Around him officers scrambled in panic, their once unshakable discipline shattered. How is this happening?" Valra muttered, his scaled hands trembling over the controls. The human dreadnought floated in the void, untouched, unharmed. It hadn't taken a single hit. The Dominion fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, was now reduced to wreckage. And Fire Siren took a deep breath, forcing himself to think there had to be an explanation. "Run another scan on that ship," he barked. An officer obeyed, his trembling claws flying over the control panel. A second later, the results flashed onto the holo screen. Xiron's blood froze. "That's not just a ship," the officer whispered. "It's alive." The bridge fell silent. "What did you just say?" Siren growled. The officer swallowed it. "It's giving off organic signals. The structure is metal, yes, but the core of the ship, it's something else, something we've never seen before." Valrax's throat tightened. "Are you saying the thing is a..." Then a new sound cut through the chaos, a voice. It didn't come through their communication systems. It didn't come from any known source. It spoke directly into their minds. "You wanted war." Siren's breath hitched. "Now you'll understand what war truly is." The dread moved faster than anything its size should be capable of. It closed the distance between itself and the Dominion's remaining ships. Its whole shifted, revealing something monstrous beneath a living network of shifting armor pulsing with an eerie otherworldly like. Siren's heart pounded. This wasn't just human technology, it was something more, something terrifying, something the Dominion had never encountered. Then, without warning, the dread vanished. Where did it go?" Valrak shouted. The officers frantically searched their scanners, but there was nothing, no energy readings, no movement. It was as if the ship had never existed. And then boom, the Dominion suck largest battleship, a behemoth of war built to withstand planetary sieges, exploded into 1,000 burning fragments. No warning, no detected attack. It was simply gone. Siren's eyes widened in horror. The dread wasn't attacking from the outside anymore. It was inside them, a nightmare made of steel and something far worse. And the Dominion had no way to stop it. The wrath of a forgotten force. The Doombringer bridge was drowning in chaos. Siren could barely think. His warship, the pride of the Dominion fleet, was dying around him. Officers screamed, alarms howled, and the once mighty fleet was nothing but scattered wreckage in the void. But none of that mattered now. What mattered was the human dreadnought, or rather where it had gone one by one. Dominion ships were being erased from existence. There were no weapon discharges, no visible projectiles, no warning, just a flash. Then silence. It was impossible. No warship, no matter how advanced, could just vanish and reappear within enemy formations that defied every known rule of warfare. Yet here, they were being hunted by a ghost. Sean gritted his teeth, trying to regain control. "We need to adapt," he growled. "If the humans have cloaking technology this advanced, then it's not cloaking." Valorant shouted, his voice shaking with fear. Thra turned sharply. "What are you saying?" Valrax's claws trembled over the control panels. "I ran another scan, the energy readings. High Lord, this ship isn't using technology. We understand." He swallowed. "It's bending space. It's moving through reality itself." Siren's blood ran ice cold before he could respond. A new presence filled the bridge. It wasn't a transmission. It wasn't a voice over the comms. It was inside their minds. A whisper, a growl, a presence so vast and overwhelming that it felt like the universe itself had turned to stare at them. "Your empire dies today." The lights flickered, the ship shuddered, and then the dreadnought appeared, not outside, not in front of them, inside the Doombringer, right in the middle of the Dominion's most secure warship. Siren's eyes widened in horror as dark liquid metal began pouring through the walls. It wasn't just a warship, it was alive. The human dreadnought wasn't just a machine, it was something else, something far older than the Dominion, something that had been waiting, and now it was awake. The walls twisted, reshaping into jagged black spikes. The bridge controls melted, turning into something unrecognizable. Officers screamed as their bodies were dragged into the shifting mass, their armor dissolving as the ship itself consumed them. Tyron stumbled back, his claws trembling. He had fought 1,000 battles, conquered worlds, burned civilizations to dust, but in this moment, he knew he had never truly known fear. Until now. The whisper returned. "You thought humanity was weak." A terrible, deep hum shook the ship like the growl of a beast awakening from slumber. "Now you understand." Siren's vision blurred. The last thing he saw was a single human figure standing in the chaos, surrounded by the black shifting metal. A human, but not just any human, the pilot of the dreadnought. And as darkness swallowed the bridge, Siren realized the truth. The Dominion was never the apex predator of the galaxy. Humanity was the fall of the Dominion. Darkness swallowed the Doombringer bridge. Zanan couldn't move. His body was frozen, not by fear, but by something deeper. The walls pulsed with a strange liquid metal, shifting like it was breathing. It wasn't just a ship, it was something else, something alive. And at the center of it all, the human. He stood there, calm, unshaken, eyes glowing with a faint, unnatural light. His presence wasn't that of a mere soldier. He felt like a force of nature, like something beyond mortal understanding. "Your empire is over." Siren wanted to speak, to bargain, to fight, but he couldn't. The ship itself was holding him, binding his very thoughts. Valks was whimpering, his claws twitching. The bridge crew gone, consumed, absorbed into the living dreadnought, their screams now part of its eternal hum. The human took a step forward, and the ship moved with him. Not just the dreadnought, the entire Dominion fleet. Zahn's eyes widened in horror as the wreckage of his once invincible armada stirred. The dead ships, broken, burned, began to shift, reconnect, merge into something new. The Dren was consuming them. A graveyard of Dominion technology was turning into a weapon. The massive shape evolved before his eyes, stretching, expanding, an abomination of steel, and something far worse. And then it spoke. Not just into Xiron's mind, not just into the doomed survivors of his fleet. It spoke to the entire Dominion, every world, every colony, every stronghold, every living thing under the Dominion's rule heard the voice of the human ship. "Your reign ends now across the Dominion." Rulers froze in terror, armies collapsed. Without orders, planets descended into chaos, because in that single moment the truth became clear. The humans had never been weak, they had simply been waiting for the right moment, waiting for the minion to bring more to them, waiting for a reason to unleash what had been hidden. Siren closed his eyes, and then light, a burst of energy, tore through space, erasing the last remnant of the once great Dominion fleet. Siren felt his body dissolving, his very essence fading. The last thing he heard was the humans whisper, "You should have left us alone." And then silence. The Dominion fell that day, and humanity rose, not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as a warning to the rest of the galaxy to never make the same mistake again.